Homage to the root teacher Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the wisdom warrior Manjushri. Homage to all the benevolent lineage masters. The supreme Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered, even in millions of kalpas. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize the Tathagata's true meaning. Now let's continue to study the words of my perfect teacher. We've already covered the motivation of bodhicitta for listening to the Dharma. Last time, we began discussing the motivation of the secret mantrayana. We haven't finished that topic yet. These visualizations we've been talking about are meant to help us see things as they truly are, not to fabricate something that doesn't exist. Why? One thing we must be absolutely clear about. These visualizations aren't about imagining impure things as pure. Rather, everything is inherently pure to begin with. Through the analysis we've done so far, everyone should now understand this clearly. And why is that? Because in Vajrayana, it has always been emphasized that all animate and inanimate phenomena should be seen with pure perception. The main reason is that all sentient beings are no different from the Tathagatas or the wisdom warrior bodhisattvas. And the inanimate world is no different from the pure land of great bliss or the Buddha field of manifest joy. So it can rightly be said that everything is inherently and fundamentally pure. Again, it isn't that something impure is contemplated as pure. It definitely isn't like that at all. This is a crucial worldview in Vajrayana, a way of understanding both the living and the material aspects of our world. Is it also taught in Sutrayana? As I have said, it's stated very clearly in the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Lotus Sutra, and the Lankavatara Sutra, and other ultimate Mahayana sutras. This is also made clear in the commentaries, such as Bodhisattva Nagarjuna's Praise of the Dharmadhatu, Bodhisattva Maitreya's Uttara Tantra Shastra, and so on. Of course, the Sutrayana scriptures don't go into it as extensively as Vajrayana does, where many different reasons and examples are laid out in detail. The Vajrayana's view is mentioned implicitly in Sutrayana. In fact, any viewpoint of Vajrayana can also be found in Sutrayana. That's why the Venerable Longchenpa, in his extensive commentary on the Guhyagarbha Tantra, cited many ultimate Sutrayana scriptures to support Vajrayana views. Mipham Rinpoche did the same in his work, Luminous Essence, a guide to the Guhyagarbha Tantra. Both masters drew heavily on Sutrayana to explain the Vajrayana perspective. Those who study Vajrayana firmly believe that without proficiency in its teachings, it's very hard to explain some of the deepest and most extraordinary views found in Sutrayana. So it's strongly recommended that those studying Chinese Buddhism, especially Dharma masters, teachers and scholars, must seriously delve into the study and contemplation of the scriptures, commentaries, and tantras of both the Sutrayana and Vajrayana traditions. If you only study one tradition, your understanding will be incomplete. And if you then criticize the parts you don't understand, that kind of slander helps no one, not yourself and not others. It's crucial to recognize that the motivation in Vajrayana is indeed supreme. This praise isn't biased by our study of Vajrayana, nor is it simply because we happen to be practitioners of this tradition, nor because we're Tibetan Buddhists. That's not the case at all. Rather, nowadays, numerous practitioners from both the East and the West around the world, through diligent study and practice, have come to fully appreciate the rare and precious aspects of Vajrayana. So I believe it's crucial to communicate and learn from each other when we don't understand certain aspects of the teachings. Ordinary people tend to make assumptions about things they don't understand, and sometimes they go further, criticizing or even slandering what they haven't fully examined. But once they finally see the truth for themselves, they often feel deep regret. As such, in the process of learning Buddhism, we must be comprehensive and thorough. You should learn Buddhism comprehensively and completely, fully elevating your understanding. This approach not only protects you and other practitioners, but also prevents the creation of negative karma in your mind stream. Instead, it allows you to accumulate vast amounts of merit and wisdom. As mentioned here, everything is inherently pure. It's definitely not about contemplating something originally impure as being pure. It's absolutely not like that. There are many scriptural references from the Tantras on this matter, but this time I won't use these tantric references. I'll explain using some Sutrayana references instead. For example, in the Lankavatara Sutra, it also says, "The sages see purity, arising in the three liberations, free from birth and death, constantly abiding in the state of non-appearance." Sages can see that all things are pure. Only then can the three liberations arise. At that time, one can transcend the birth and death of the entire cycle of samsara and long abide in the formless, tranquil, pure and luminous ultimate Dharma and Nirvana. It's essential that we understand what the true Buddhist Dharma is. This truth is uniquely expounded by the Buddha in both Mahayana and Hinayana, and in both Sutrayana and Vajrayana. The scriptures have clear teachings on the matter. But sadly, these beings are shrouded by their own ignorance and affliction. It can also be said that their wisdom eyes are covered, so they can't see the Dharma's truth, which is as radiant as the sun and moon. This is how we should understand it. To recap, yesterday we covered the 5 perfections. The Guru is the Buddha, and the place is the Pure Land. The assembly is no different from that of the Buddha. The teaching is that of the great vehicle. And the time is eternal. It's not that the Dharma is taught today and gone tomorrow. Only Vajrayana can explain the hidden meanings. Scriptural references could be provided for each of these, the place, the teaching, and the time, etc., to show that they're all pure in essence, right? But we won't go into all of that here. Instead, we'll use the Guru as our example. So, using the Guru as our example, the teacher embodies the essence of all Buddhas throughout the 3 times. Buddha also stated in the scriptures, the Guru is the embodiment of the Buddhas of the 3 times, and also the manifestation of the Buddhas of the 3 times. Ananda, don't grieve. Ananda, don't weep. In the future, I'll appear as a spiritual teacher to benefit you all. It was also cited before. When the Buddha manifested entering nirvana, he said to Ananda and other disciples with affinity, "Don't be sad, don't weep. In the future age of degenerate times, I will appear in the form of a spiritual friend and teacher to guide and liberate all these beings who are still wandering in samsara." So this scriptural passage makes clear that all authentic spiritual teachers who genuinely embody the qualities of the Dharma are manifestations of the Buddha himself, and in their innermost nature, they are no different from the Buddha. Think of it like the ocean and its waves, different in appearance, but the same in essence. The teacher is the union of the 3 jewels. His body is the Sangha. Why is that? Because the Guru's body actually abides by the pure precepts, enabling countless sentient beings to attain both temporary happiness and ultimate liberation, and guiding their body and mind into genuine virtuous Dharma. The teacher's speech is the Dharma, or it can be said to be the essence of the sublime Dharma. Because the Guru's speech can convey the teachings of the Tripitaka and the 12 divisions of Sutra, which are excellent at cutting off the afflictive obscurations and the cognitive obscurations. The Guru's speech benefits countless beings and plants the seeds of virtue in their mind streams. The true Dharma also has these functions. Hence, the Guru's speech can be called the sublime Dharma. The teacher's mind is the Buddha. From the perspective of naturally abiding Buddha nature, every sentient being's mind is no different from the Buddha's. The teacher's mind, or wisdom, is free from all fabrication and concepts, and intrinsically luminous, beyond union and separation. This is, in fact, the essence of the Buddha's 2 wisdoms, one that knows the full extent of all phenomena, and one that knows their ultimate nature. So the hidden reality of any guru should be considered indistinguishable from the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Thus, the Guru is the union of the 3 jewels. In the Sutrayana, It's also taught that the guru is the essence of the three jewels. Or in Vajrayana, the guru is regarded as the fourth jewel. In the Tantras, it's also stated the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha are the three jewels, and the guru is the fourth jewel. So beyond the three jewels, the guru stands as a fourth, and yet, in essence, he is no different from them. Or it can be said that the three jewels, through the skillful means of the guru, allow sentient beings to attain realization. Hence, the guru is the union of the three jewels. Moreover, the guru is also the union of the three roots. His body is the teacher, his speech the yidam, the meditation deity, and his mind the dakini, the feminine wisdom principle. The guru is the embodiment and union of the three roots. Why is that so? Because as we mentioned earlier, the guru is the nature of all Buddhas. In order to guide sentient beings, Buddhas can manifest in human form. So among the three roots, the so-called guru, the spiritual teacher, is the manifestation for the benefit of sentient beings. Thus the guru's body is like this. The guru's speech is called the yidam. If one faithfully practices according to the words that come from the guru's mouth, one will attain realization and accomplishment. Similarly, practicing Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, and other yidams will also lead to attainment. The guru's mind is the dakini. In a sense, all wisdom consorts, prajna, mother of all Buddhas, can also be called dakinis. There's also a verse that says, "In the space of emptiness, the power of great compassion moves spontaneously." What this means is that any realized being, any wisdom mother, who has realized the inseparability of emptiness and great compassion is called a sky dancer or dakini. In general, the guru is the source of blessings, the yidam is the source of attainments, and the dakini is the source of enlightened activity. From this perspective, the guru is the union of the three roots as well. If we don't understand this principle, we tend to practice the yidam, the dakini, the Dharma protector, and the guru as if they were all separate entities. Even some saints in India, not understanding this, separate the yidam and the guru. When they saw the yidam, they chose the yidam and didn't choose the guru. In the end, the mandala of the yidam dissolved entirely into the guru, showing that the guru was the true source all along. Because they had initially chosen the yidam over the guru, they didn't attain the level of Vajradhara in that lifetime. This phenomenon is mentioned in the biographies of many Indian masters, and in finding comfort and ease in illusoriness of things. The Venerable Longchenpa also said, when practicing Guru Yoga, the Guru's appearance can't be changed. Why can't it change? Because the Tantras don't state that one can attain realization in this life relying on the yidam alone, but relying on the Guru, one can attain realization in a short time. So from this perspective, the Guru should surpass the yidam, and the Guru is the union of the three roots. It can also be said the teacher is the union of the three kayas. His body is the nirmana kaya, his speech the sambhoga kaya, his mind the dharma kaya. The Guru is also the union of the three kayas, the dharma kaya, sambhoga kaya, and nirmana kaya. Let me explain what this means in practice. From childhood onward, even when playing with other children, the Guru's actions plant seeds of liberation in their mind streams. And then, in youth or middle age, the Guru turns the wheel of the sublime Dharma through his wisdom, allowing many sentient beings to attain liberation. Finally, when the Guru's body demonstrates parinirvana, it also allows countless beings to realize impermanence. So the Guru's body is entirely an illusory form to benefit sentient beings. The previous scriptural reference just mentioned said that he manifests as a spiritual teacher. And if he manifests as a spiritual teacher, he is an emanation of the Buddha. It can be evidenced by the scriptural text, as well as by logical reasoning. The Guru's speech is the sambhoga kaya. Why is it called the sambhoga kaya? Because when the inner winds and speech are purified, in other words, when the subtle energies are refined, The Buddha's form naturally appears before purified beings. This is the Sambhogakaya and the Guru's speech in front of beings who have attained the fruit of realization is an extraordinary power identical to the Sambhogakaya. This extraordinary power is the so-called Sambhogakaya. The Guru's consciousness, the mind, is identical to the luminosity of the Dharmadhatu. The wisdom of the luminosity of the Dharmadhatu is actually the so-called Dharmakaya. So the essence of the Trikaya should be said to be the Guru. Also, the three Kayas of the Guru are said to pervade the entire world. This isn't just our conceptual thought. It's not about forcing or straining yourself to visualize. In fact, it has always been this way. But many of us don't realize it at all. That's because ordinary people can only see the Guru as someone who goes through birth, aging, illness, and death. Someone who seems to have greed, anger, and ignorance, and who may even appear to act in ways that don't accord with the Dharma. So there's also a saying, a saint sees everything as a saint, whereas an ordinary person sees everything as an ordinary person. To explain this, I'll tell a story, which is also the origin of the biography of Milarepa. Once in Yarlung, the Venerable Milarepa was preparing to teach the Mahayana Dharma to Rechungpa and other disciples with an affinity. The night before, Rechungpa had a very rare dream in which he had already gone to the Oḍḍiyāna Pure Land, where the immovable one was teaching Rechungpa and the other disciples extraordinary and magnificent biographies of the past Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, as well as compassionate stories of Indian sages, such as Tilopa, Naropa, and Mapa Lotsawa. Of course, there were many details to the story. I'll summarize briefly. Finally, as the assembly was about to disperse, the immovable one said, "Actually, among all these biographies, the greatest, the rarest, and the most touching biography is that of Milarepa. But the biography of Milarepa will be taught from tomorrow." At that moment, some people asked, "Where exactly is the Venerable Milarepa?" Some said, "He must be in the Eastern Buddha field of manifest joy." Others said, "He is in the pure land of Samantabhadra," and so on. At this time, Rechungpa told them, "Actually, Milarepa isn't here. Milarepa is clearly in Tibet with us right now." Then he woke up from his dream and privately thought to himself, "Our Venerable Milarepa is clearly in Tibet, but why did they say otherwise?" After some deep contemplation, he came to the realization, although we ordinary people assume that the Venerable Milarepa is in Tibet teaching us the Dharma, in fact, he is no different from the Buddha. The three Kayas of our Guru, Milarepa, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya, is pervading the entire world, omnipresent in all directions. When we see the Guru as an ordinary being, someone who is born, who ages and who passes away, someone who shows all kinds of imperfect behavior, that perception comes from the impurity of our own eyes and minds. In fact, such views slander the Guru. He felt that the dream was the Dakini's hint, urging the Guru to recount a remarkably rare and wonderful biography. Later, Rechungpa asked Venerable Milarepa to tell his own biography. Then Venerable Milarepa began to recount his own life story. This biography has been translated into many languages. Garma Chang's English translation is especially well known. Countless practitioners, both Chinese and Tibetan, have been deeply moved by it. After reading the biography of Venerable Milarepa, their hearts were completely transformed. Indeed, the biography carries a unique and uncommon blessing that has the power to transform anyone who reads it. I remember when I was in middle school, my left hand was infected and festering, and I nearly died. There was a Tibetan doctor, also an old practitioner, who treated me daily with Tibetan medicine. And there was another practitioner who would come every night to read Milarepa's biography to us. Because of the political restrictions at the time, we were quite afraid of being discovered by others. So we shut all the gates of the courtyard and all the doors of the house. Then at midnight, the Lama named Tenzin Gyatso would start reading to us. While hearing it, the old practitioner would be moved to tears from time to time. Even though I was very young at the time, I felt there was a special blessing from it. Even now, many of the songs of realization and moving stories, I still remember them very clearly, even though more than 20 years have passed since the first year of middle school. This vividly shows the extraordinary and uncommon blessing power of such a biography. Just as the teaching said, no matter how the guru may appear to us, whether aging or looking like an ordinary person, his true essence pervades all worlds in the 10 directions. He is guiding countless beings in countless ways. In this regard, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche also received many profound pith instructions from Thubga Rinpoche in his dreams. I believe many Dharma friends are well aware of this in their hearts. As disciples, we should perceive the guru with a pure perception. The guru isn't just called a guru verbally, like calling a stone gold. It's not like that. It's only to ordinary beings. What is pure appears impure. Because we have the disease of afflictions and ignorance, no matter how we look, we can't perceive the pure aspect. But through scriptural evidence and logical reasoning, we should come to understand that everything around us is pure. The entire material world, the teachers who transmit the Dharma, and even the people sitting beside us, all of them deserve to be seen with a pure perception. This is a very sound and powerful line of reasoning, one based on the very nature of things. It may not be easy for ordinary people to accept it for now, especially those not well versed in Buddhist teachings. But regardless of their acceptance or not, the fact remains as it is. In short, the guru is the embodiment of the 3 kayas. He is the embodiment of all the Buddhas of the past. He is the source of all the Buddhas of the future. And he is the representative of all the Buddhas of the present. Firstly, the guru is the embodiment of all the Buddhas of the past, as was mentioned in the ornament of the middle way. A guru who teaches in accordance with the Dharma is indeed an emanation of the Buddha. The scriptural evidence just presented also supports this. Moreover, the true Buddha doesn't necessarily appear in the form of the Buddha's own body, adorned with marks and signs. Before humans, he appears in human form. Before animals, he appears in the form of animals. And before other beings like those in hell, he appears in their forms to guide them. So, among human beings, the Buddha usually manifests as a normal Dharma teacher to guide sentient beings. So it's vitally important to hold a pure perception. Next, of all the Buddhas of the future, the guru is the source. Because after the guru gives teachings, the mind streams of many sentient beings are able to mature. Without the guru's guidance and instructions, and consequently without their arousing bodhicitta and the mind of renunciation, these future Buddhas could never manifest in the future. Thus, the guru is the source of future Buddhas. As for the present Buddhas, the Buddhas of the 10 directions who reside in their pure realms and Buddha fields, the guru is said to be their representative here in our world. Now, the Buddhas in all the worlds in 10 directions living in pure Buddha fields are represented by the guru. Why is this? Because the one who actually makes the Buddha's doctrine shine forth must be a Buddha. Otherwise, it would be absolutely impossible to genuinely benefit countless beings and to carry out such vast activities for an ordinary being. Some old gurus have said before that His Holiness is surely the supreme representative and regent of all the Buddhas, because if he were an ordinary person, it would be impossible to do what he has done. In this degenerate age, the Dharma has shone forth so widely and so successfully. Many wise individuals have made such evaluations. So we must understand that the Guru is the essence of the Buddhas of the 3 times. Since he takes as his disciples degenerate beings like us, whom even the 1,000 Buddhas of the fortunate Kalpa have been unable to tame, his compassion and bounty exceed that of all Buddhas. The Guru has indeed taken on us sentient beings. Of course, some of the 1,000 Buddhas of the good Kalpa haven't yet appeared. But here, the 1,000 Buddhas of the good Kalpa can be explained in 2 ways. One refers to the many thousands of Buddhas, led by Shakyamuni Buddha and Kashyapa Buddha, who came to the human world. But weighted down by heavy karma, we still haven't been liberated. Or it could be said that even the 1,000 Buddhas of the good Kalpa may not be able to liberate us. It's only through appearing as the Guru that the Buddha can teach us the sublime Dharma and embrace us with compassion. So, in terms of compassion and kindness, we can say that the Guru has already surpassed the Buddha. Some might think that it's unreasonable to say so. But actually, his statement is prevalent not only in Vajrayana, but also in Sutrayana. In the past, when we studied Venerable Longchenpa's great commentary, The Great Chariot, I remember, it cited a teaching from the Immaculate Sky Sutra, in which the Buddha told Ananda, the Tathagata doesn't appear before all sentient beings, but instead, he manifests in the form of a spiritual teacher to teach the Dharma, planting the seeds of liberation in the minds of sentient beings. Thus, the spiritual teacher is superior to all Tathagatas. I remember that, the scriptural quotation. We must know this. In fact, this sutra states that the spiritual teacher is indeed superior to all Tathagatas, because it's now impossible for the Tathagata to manifest in front of sentient beings in this degenerate age. But the Guru really can, in our world of endurance, among sentient beings, serve as a living means for both liberation through seeing and liberation through hearing, benefiting all who encounter him. The Guru first establishes a connection with sentient beings and then helps them achieve realization. Thus, the merit of connecting with the Guru is immense. Venerable Longchenpa also said, the virtuous Guru is indeed the Dharma king, residing wherever the Buddhas dwell. Let all who see, hear, think of, or touch him completely destroy all cyclic existence. It means that a Guru with virtue is the great Dharma king of the 3,000-fold universe. Wherever he resides, in any environment, in any place, he is actually no different from the Buddhas in the 10 directions. Anyone who connects with him, whether through good or bad karma, whether by seeing the Guru or hearing his voice, whether by remembering him in their minds or contacting him physically, can directly or indirectly destroy the harmful seeds that perpetuate the cycle of samsara. Thus, forming a Dharma connection is indeed very special. Before Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche passed away, whether we saw him, heard his voice, thought of him, or received his blessing when he placed his hand on our heads, all of this accumulated immense merit. Venerable Longchenpa also said, the Buddha said that a moment of remembering the Guru triumphs over an eon of practicing the generation stage. In just a moment of remembering the Guru, the merit is far greater than that of an entire eon of practicing the generation and completion stage. So when we regularly remember the Guru, or when we can see the Guru in person, the merit accumulated is immense. When His Holiness went to Canada in the past, he was ill at the time. One evening, during a Dharma teaching at a gathering, he wasn't able to complete the full teaching and finished earlier than planned. And a Westerner who had great faith in Vajrayana said, although today's teaching isn't as long as usual, everyone has seen the Guru and heard his voice, and our hearts are already content and satisfied. This is the mark of a genuinely wise practitioner, someone who understands the profound value of even just hearing the Guru's voice. Indeed, it's good if the Guru teaches Dharma or chants mantras to you. For such practitioners, those with genuine wisdom and devotion, even without a formal Dharma transmission, simply hearing the Guru's voice, laughter or cough, can plant the seeds of liberation and sever the root of samsara, directly or indirectly. So, we should realize that those who want to attain liberation must rely on a qualified teacher. In Medium Prajnaparamita, the Buddha also told Subhuti, if you want to attain the fully omniscient Buddha's fruit, you must rely on a qualified teacher. So for those who earnestly practice Mahayana Buddhism, relying on a qualified spiritual teacher is of the utmost importance and absolutely essential. During the process of relying on them, you must hold a pure perception. If not, the Guru's words may seem wrong to you. So may his thoughts and actions. You'll be observing his faults every day on your seat. Eventually, your own continuum will definitely become tainted by various negative karma, because when someone harbors wrong views about the guru, even a perfectly adorned Buddha will appear faulty, just like Bhikshu Sunaksatra. For so many years, he relied upon and served the Buddha, who was perfectly endowed with all qualities and merits. However, he couldn't even see the slightest merit, but only saw faults. In the end, he himself fell into the lower realms. So holding a pure perception accumulates the greatest merit and benefit, while viewing faults brings none. So, from the Vajrayana perspective of pure perception, the essence of the Guru is no different from the Buddha. As the verse from the Gathering of Secrets says, the Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, the Guru is also the Sangha, the Guru is the one who accomplishes everything. The Guru is virtuous Vajradhara. The Guru, as mentioned earlier, is no different in essence from the Buddha, who has perfect qualities and merit. The Guru is the essence of the doctrine and realization that liberates sentient beings. The Guru is the Sangha who leads countless beings onto the path of liberation, and is no different in essence from the Sangha. Therefore, the Guru is the source of all three jewels. The Guru is the source of all beings' liberation. The Guru is indeed none other than the glorious Vajradhara Buddha, utterly inseparable from all Buddhas. Now, let's turn to us, the assembly who listens to the Dharma. As we just discussed, from the Guru's perspective, everything is inherently pure. So, going forward, when you are following the Guru, don't focus on his faults. If you do so, you'll experience what was mentioned in Khenpo Nakchung's teachings. If you view the Guru as an ordinary person, you can only obtain siddhi from a hungry dog. In other words, siddhi will never be attained, and there are many teachings that explain this. On the other hand, when we regularly recall a Guru with genuine faith, his intangible blessings and power will directly or indirectly merge into your heart. In this way, the seeds of liberation can gradually grow. But if your own mind stream is already thoroughly stained by various wrong views and the defilements they bring, then it will be very difficult for the seedling of Bodhi to sprout in your mental field. So regularly observe your own mental continuum. Whenever you notice yourself focusing on faults in the Guru or harboring negative thoughts, try to recite supplications or the Vajrasattva mantra to purify those negativities and actively cultivate a pure perception. One way to look at it is the following. Even though I see the Guru as lacking in qualities, he is still a sentient being, and all sentient beings possess the Buddha nature. So today I'll focus on the Buddha nature perspective and not look at the Guru's faults. This is where you should laugh, but nobody is laughing. Anyway, let's get back to the text. Moreover, as we gathered here, listening to the Dharma, all of us, without an exception, have the basic ground of Buddha nature. The Dharma friends who are now listening, in fact, none of them lacks the Buddha nature. Every sentient being has it. The Buddha also said in the Samadhi Raja Sutra, all sentient beings possess the Tathagata Garbha. Hence, there are no sentient beings in this world who lack the Tathagata Garbha. Bodhisattva Maitreya also established this through 3 logical proofs in the Uttara Tantra Shastra. He reached the conclusion. Thus, it's said that all sentient beings possess the Tathagata Garbha. There is much scriptural evidence on this. Therefore, all sentient beings possess the Buddha nature. These sentient beings, viewed from a negative aspect, may seem to have greed, anger, ignorance, and various faults by appearance. But in reality, they have obtained the precious human life, and they share with us the fortunate opportunity to listen to the Dharma in front of a qualified Guru. They aren't like those with ordinary or inferior human births. They have the support of a precious human life, the good fortune of meeting a qualified teacher, and the guidance of that teacher's instructions. That's why, as the disciples, we are all Buddhas of the future. All of us who listen to the teachings may appear to have some faults on the surface. but it's only because our own minds aren't pure. In reality, they're all future Buddhas. The future Buddhas and the present Buddhas actually have no difference in essence. It's just a matter of time, because viewed from the perspective of essence, each sentient being has Buddha nature. Temporarily, some necessary conditions haven't yet come together, and certain defilements obscuring the Tathagata-garbha, the Buddha nature, haven't yet been cleared away. But if we apply ourselves to practice and gradually remove all these defilements and obscurations, every single one of us will become a fully enlightened Buddha. That potential is already there. It just needs to be uncovered. I remember a story from when we were students. We once said to a school official, "Sir, don't be so proud. Although we're studying now, in no time, we'll also be leaders like you. So don't be too arrogant." We should be thinking in this way too, and don't lose hope. Every person is a future Buddha. Actually, from this perspective, we shouldn't view anyone as having faults. Instead, we should see everyone as bodhisattvas, all endowed with excellent virtues and qualities. In this way, the Dharma that the Guru teaches can bring benefits to everyone's continuum. So, at the very beginning, adjusting your mindset is very important. If you begin by viewing the entire Dharma center as terrible and impure, the Guru as a bad person up on the stage, and the practitioner sitting next to you as even worse, thinking, "I'm surrounded by a group of bad people," then naturally, whatever the Guru says will seem like bad talk, and none of it can bring any benefit to your mind stream. When everything in your perception is bad, nothing good can enter. Even for a normal classroom, the atmosphere is very important. When you're listening to a lecture in front of a guru, you must maintain pure perception. This isn't about pretending impure things are pure. Rather, through scripture and reasoning, and there's rich and solid evidence for this, we can actually establish that the guru and the assembly really are pure. And if we can establish this purity, it's easy to establish the pure perception on all of our surroundings, the places where we live, the environment around us, even the spaces we move through daily. In the extensive teachings of the Guhyagarbha Tantra, there is rich and conclusive scriptural evidence showing that all of this can be established immediately as a pure Buddha field, and this is not at all difficult to understand once the reasoning is clearly presented. Thus, if we have the wisdom and capacity to do so, at the very beginning of every Dharma teaching session, we should make a point of reminding ourselves, listen either with the supreme motivation of Mahayana bodhicitta or by holding the pure perception of Vajrayana. This pure perception is actually more powerful. If you can fully maintain this view, every sentence that the Guru speaks can quickly transform your mind. Some people, after listening to just a few classes, or even after a short period of time, gain extraordinary attainments and blessings at once, while others, despite listening for a long time, may not be able to grasp certain pith instructions. The difference lies in whether you hold pure perception. If you appreciate the pith instructions, even listening for a short time can significantly transform your mind. So, everyone should pay attention. Next, let's look at the Tantra of Two Examinations, a text closely associated with the Hevajra Tantra. As the Hevajra Tantra says, all beings are Buddhas, but this is concealed by adventitious stains. When their stains are purified, their Buddhahood is revealed. We sentient beings are intrinsically perfect and complete, no different from the Buddha. But just like the sky being covered by clouds, the Buddha nature of sentient beings is temporarily obscured by ignorance and afflictions. So in the cycle of samsara, beings appear confused, bewildered, and afflicted. In fact, once they recognize the true nature of their mind, all sentient beings can immediately manifest all the qualities of a true Buddha. So, from this perspective, we shouldn't view all sentient beings as faulty. We must maintain a pure perception. After class, when you look at each Dharma friend, think of them as Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara Mahastama Prapta, or great disciples of Guru Padmasambhava, such as the translator, Khyeu Chung Lotsawa, and so on. It's said that in the eyes of a saint, everyone appears as a saint. But in the eyes of an ordinary person, everyone appears as ordinary. Sometimes, when we're in a bad mood, the people around us, or guests that arrive, may all seem like bad people. This really relates to one's state of mind. If you're in a good mood, even bad people or enemies will seem pleasant to you. Their personality seems quite delightful, and even their appearances and clothes look nice and appealing. Even if you see a beggar on the street, you might feel joy and happiness in your heart. So if our mind is wholly pure, then all beings in front of us are certainly no different from Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. For this reason, everyone should adjust their mindset. Next, we'll discuss behavior, which is divided into two aspects: behaviors to abandon and behaviors to adopt. Behaviors to adopt are those that we should practice. Behaviors to abandon are divided into three categories: the 3 defects of the pot, the 6 stains, and the 5 wrong ways of remembering. First, let's talk about the 3 defects of the pot. As everyone knows, those of us who listen to the Dharma are called Dharma vessels. When we listen to the Dharma, there are 3 specific faults we absolutely need to watch out for and guard against. We should regularly and carefully examine our own mind stream to check whether we have these 3 faults, going over them in detail, honestly assessing our own state. If we discover that we do have any of these faults, we must remove them right away, without hesitation. Otherwise, even though the Dharma is extremely profound and extraordinary, it won't benefit your mind stream. Among these 3 faults, the first is called the fault of not to listen is to be like a pot or vessel turned upside down. What does this mean? When you're listening to the teachings, listen to what is being said and don't let yourself be distracted by anything else. Whether it's from any guru in person or when we listen to teachings through recorded media, during these times, we should carefully observe our own mental continuum to see if we're really paying attention. If your hearing isn't focused on the meaning of the Dharma, it's a problem. For example, you hear a sound from the east and your attention immediately shifts there, or someone next to you does something and your eyes are drawn away. Once that happens, neither your ears nor your mind are fully engaged with the teaching, and when you're not focused, no matter how many words the guru speaks, the Dharma simply won't enter your mind or bring you any benefit. So when listening to the Dharma, the mind is of utmost importance. The mind must be concentrated, fully dedicated, following the guru's teachings with focused attention, and listening carefully and hanging on to the meaning of every word. A good example of this is Lama Gyatso in our monastery, whom I believe I have mentioned before. He has passed away, but when we studied together, he was probably in his 60s or 70s. Once, in a small wooden room behind the Great Hall, we were listening to a teaching given by His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. Even if His Holiness made a small joke or a brief comment during the teaching, Lama Gyatso would write them all down, word for word. Having witnessed that, I was very moved and thought to myself, when we listen to teachings, we often think, the guru is joking today, which isn't useful for me. Or the guru is talking about something irrelevant, which isn't useful for me. Of all the guru's teachings, we tend to pick and choose, keeping only a small portion we think applies to us, while dismissing the greater part as irrelevant. But if we genuinely regard the guru as a Buddha, even a joke or a seemingly irrelevant topic should be considered meaningful, directly or indirectly. Because when we later read back through the written transcripts of the guru's teachings, we would discover that what seemed shallow or insignificant in the moment, something we dismissed as just an ordinary joke, was actually carrying a very deep meaning. The guru's words always carry layers of significance, even when they appear on the surface to be simple or light-hearted. It's only later, when you look back and reflect, that you discover the profound meaning hidden within those words. So, when we listen to the Dharma, we shouldn't be selective or saying, I don't want this, I don't want that. But it's like someone who's already full. They push away everything on the table. Eventually, nothing appeals to them anymore. This isn't beneficial. So back to the point. When we listen to the Dharma, we need to be fully attentive and focused at all times. Otherwise, you'll be like an upside-down pot on which liquid is being poured. Although you may be physically present among the audience at a Dharma class, you won't hear a single word of the teaching. Even if the guru speaks for hours, you may turn a deaf ear to it. It's like talking to a brick wall. No matter what is said, it won't be of any use to you, even though your ears may appear to be in place. People may have ears of various sizes and shapes, but if you don't listen, then it's like an overturned pot. When water is poured upon it, not a single drop can get inside. After sitting through the entire session, you might not have grasped a single point of Dharma, because when your hearing isn't focused, your ears simply don't serve their real purpose. The other day, I saw a teacher at our school criticizing a student. She pinched his ear and said, "What is this used for?" The student didn't say anything at first. As she was pinching really hard, the child eventually said, "It's for listening to the teacher's words." So Dharma friends, when we listen to teachings, we should sometimes feel our ears and ask ourselves, what are these for? After hearing so much Dharma, if nothing sinks in, then these are props, as they aren't serving their purpose. So to sum up, we must be attentive. The second fault is called not to be able to retain what you hear is to be like a pot with a hole in it. It's not enough just to hear teachings with your ears. You must remember them in your heart. The mind must internalize them. Otherwise, it won't work. You might listen attentively and very focused, but if you just listen without remembering anything that you hear or understand, you'll be like a pot with a leak. However much liquid is poured into it, nothing can stay. No matter how many teachings you hear, you can never internalize them or put them into practice. Some people appear to be overly focused during teachings, even directing their ears toward the guru. But in reality, whatever the guru teaches, they might only manage to remember one or two vague phrases, half understood at best. Perhaps the entire teaching session passed by as a superficial performance, going through the motions without genuine engagement. They haven't retained a single story, a single analogy, or a single point of Dharma teaching in their hearts. It's as if nothing was recorded at all, like a blank sheet of paper on which the ink never took hold. There's no lasting impression afterwards, no trace of the teaching left in the mind. This is similar to a bowl whose bottom is broken. No matter how much water is poured into the bowl, at the end of the day, it all leaks out with nothing retained. Similarly, even though you may be seated in the audience listening to a great many of the Guru's teachings, if you forget it all, the moment the session ends, like water pouring out of the broken bowl, this won't work. Hence, for each teaching point the Guru presents, we should strive to hold it clearly in mind so that we can accurately recall what was taught and genuinely integrate it into our ongoing practice. Even retaining just a few points thoroughly is far better than forgetting everything. Of course, remembering every word on the spot may only have been possible for certain saints in the Buddha's era, those blessed with the dharani of perfect recall. However, at the very least, during a single session, you should be able to retain a few important points that are most relevant to you. Of course, what's useful may not be a unanimous decision as dispositions vary. For example, someone called me the other day. She sounded very troubled and asked me many questions. I gave her some advice, but she said, "Oh, Khenpo, what you said doesn't work for me. I'll call a tulku instead. Every time the tulku speaks to me, what he says really works for me." I was a bit annoyed and replied, "Then call the tulku whose words work for you." So it's vital to remember and hold in your heart those teachings that genuinely resonate and connect with you. If we take away even one key instruction today and another tomorrow, building up these genuine insights step by step, then our effort of attending and listening to the teachings absolutely won't be wasted. To recap, the first of the three faults is an obstacle to wisdom born of learning in the practice of listening, contemplating, and meditating. If your ears don't listen carefully, the Dharma can't be received. The second is an obstacle to the wisdom born of contemplation. Because if you haven't retained anything in your heart, When you try to contemplate after class, there's nothing left for you to reflect on. For example, if we're teaching on the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages, and spend an entire session discussing how difficult it is. But when the session ends, you pack up and leave without retaining a single bit of knowledge in your heart. Then, when you try to contemplate, there's nothing to work with, except for your same old greed, anger, and ignorance. This is the obstacle to the wisdom born of contemplation. The third fault is an obstacle to the wisdom born of meditation, called to mix afflictions with what you hear is to be like a pot with poison in it. If you listen to the teachings with the wrong attitude, such as the desire to become great or famous, or a mind full of the 5 poisons, the Dharma won't only fail to help your mind, it will also be changed into something that isn't Dharma at all, like nectar poured into a pot containing poison. During the process of listening to the Dharma, we should strive to keep our minds free of greed and anger. Just as I mentioned earlier in the discussion on motivation, we shouldn't listen to the Dharma out of a desire for fame or seeking status, or to cure our own illness. All such worldly and negative thoughts must be abandoned. Sometimes people go to teachings because of men or women they like in the audience. Their purpose in attending the teachings every day may not be to listen to the Dharma, but rather to see or connect with someone, or for other purposes entirely. In such cases, frankly, it would be better not to attend at all. This kind of motivation is driven primarily by attachment and desire, and listening to the Dharma with such a mind will not bring any genuine benefit. The pure Dharma cannot enter a heart preoccupied with such mundane concerns. Then there's anger. Some people sit there harboring intense hatred toward their Vajra friends or others throughout the entire session. And as for ignorance, well, some people simply doze off and even start snoring in the middle of class. You may be very diligent in your worldly activities, but it isn't appropriate to fall asleep during the teaching. Greed, anger, ignorance, and all afflictions should be minimized during the brief duration of a teaching session. As was mentioned in the Pure Land teachings yesterday, if you can only eat 1 meal over 2 days, people will surely cherish the single meal. Similarly, out of 24 hours, you might have only 1 hour to listen to the Dharma. The other 23 hours can be spent on other activities. But this 1 hour is the most crucial, because it's the time for cutting off the very root of afflictions in our mind streams. It's of immense value. A profound teaching is hard to come by. So I must dedicate all my time and energy to it. We must try to eradicate all afflictions from our mind streams. Otherwise, our mind is like a container that's already contaminated with poison. Even if we put the best food inside, it will become tainted and cause illness. Not only will it not bring any merit, but it will also harm your mind stream. And it's futile to create negative karma when listening to the Dharma. Driven by greed, anger, and ignorance, people don't lack ways to commit unwholesome deeds, such as killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and so forth. It's futile to do so by selling Dharma texts or using the Dharma as an excuse. Thus, when listening to teachings in front of any guru, I hope that you don't view the guru as an object of your greed, anger, or ignorance. There's absolutely no need for this. There are plenty of other people and circumstances in the world to engage with for worldly purposes. The opportunity to attend even a single genuine Dharma session is something rare and precious in one's lifetime. To make the most of such a rare occasion, we absolutely must maintain pure motivation and a pure perception throughout. Otherwise, this fault, mixing afflictions with the Dharma, will become a real obstacle to practice within your mind stream, and particularly to the development of wisdom born of meditation. During your practice, if the afflictions of greed, anger, and ignorance are mixed in, then it's unlikely that your practice will bear any fruit. So, in all our practice, we must keep a clear distance from afflictive emotions and work actively to subdue them. Experienced older practitioners who had spent decades in practice used to say, the quality of one's practice can be gauged by whether they've overcome afflictions. If afflictions are overcome, it indicates that one's practice is excellent. Usually it's not evident from words or appearances, but you should be able to recognize it in your own mind stream. Thus, we must eliminate these three faults. If we can overcome them, then our experience of listening to the Dharma will be wholly pure. So each Dharma student must observe one's own mind stream. If you find yourself having these three faults, they must be eliminated immediately. Of course, as ordinary beings, we're bound to encounter these faults from time to time. That's simply the nature of samsara. In fact, we ourselves can see it and hear it all around us. But if you don't correct them, even if your underlying motivation is good and your wish to hear the Dharma is sincere, it still won't work. The behavioral aspect of listening to the Dharma is also very important. All right, we'll end today's teaching here.
Bandara